Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Rwagnation League Grand Prix here in Spa. I'm Ben Raggy McConnell. I'm actually commentating solo for now. I should hopefully at some point be getting my co-commentator to join me, but he's a bit occupied in Badger, that is. He should be there in time for the F1s almost certainly. But regardless of that, I can bring you solo content here for Belgium. Now, this is a fantastic circuit. It's very, very legendary in the way that it's always been an exciting race to watch. So many opportunities to overtake, so many areas where this track is just spent flat out that you cannot afford to make any sort of mistakes. Now, chat, I do want to hear from you to hear what your top 3 prediction is going to be in the chat. Bear in mind, there are a few people in here that you haven't seen for a while. There are also some people who are meant to be here that can't be here. For example, Hayden Gullis, who has made a bit of a name for himself in these F2 races over the past few weeks. He's actually broken his seat, so he cannot participate in this GP. Now, Bottas gang, last week, if you guys can remember that far back, he did in fact secure history. He's the only person to have got the perfect weekend. So he got the fastest lap in the qualifying, the fastest lap in the first race, and the race win. And then the second race, he got the fastest lap and the race win as well. And he's the only person to have done it twice. So massive amount of respect to him for achieving that, and see if anyone else can actually get there as well. Now, Joe Aeterno is a bit of a fan favourite, I'm told, so we'll stay on board with him throughout this lap. He's currently sat P9, but he is jostling for around about P7 as it stands. Tiger Jr. up there, P7 as well. He's swapping with Just Chilling, left, right, and centre, who we haven't seen in the F1 game in a very long time, actually. It's good to see him back. Amkasa down there in 15th place. Now, he hasn't touched any racing game in such a long time. Last week was the first time, this week being the second. And he is he's still going. And that bit in itself is quite impressive. So we'll keep monitoring for now. Bottas Gang and Beaker, the usual duo at the top. Aeterno has just invalidated, so he's going to be at the back of the grid. We'll go back up to the front runners as Bottas Gang, Beaker, Jack, and Piloto. They are the people who normally contend for the top 4. Lando Milton is usually one of them as well, but he's obviously invalidated as well, so he's not going to be in for a great run. But going in towards turn 1 is going to be so crucial. You cannot afford to make any mistakes, because if you do, you could find yourself in the back of someone else's car or with somebody in the back of your car. But here we go then to the line. Bottas Gang is likely to take pole. Yes, he does, by half a second, as Piloto Paya gets P2. Beaker getting P3 just by a 10th. Jack there in 4th, Rex in 5th, and the remainder are coming in. We have had some more DQs, and that is for invalidations, so they will not be able to get time on the board and will start at the back of the grid. But then coming into this race, there's a lot to play for, especially as you're coming up Eau Rouge Radion. Lots of mistakes will be made, so bear that in mind as it is the rundown. So we obviously said Bottas can't get him pole. He gets the 4 points, kickstarting his weekend quite nicely. Campos Racing get a 2-3, so good job to them for the quali. Jack there in P4, Rex in P5, Tiger Jr. P6, Just Chilling P7, Toto P8 with WG Players P9, Matt rounding out the top 10 with Burrito Bandito, the best of the rest, and the only other driver to get a time on the board, because Aeterno, Landos Milton, Amkasa, Marquez, Jeb, and Kulmanik all got DQ'd for extending track limits. Obviously, that's an indicator as to how we're going to do going into this race. It could be a problem for them if they don't get their act together going into this GP. If they have too many off tracks, if they have too many extensions, they're going to get penalties, and then you'll find yourself dropping more and more down. And, you know, yes, Mr. Consistency, our Captain Consistent, is not here. The usual Mr. Gullis, who gets himself on the podium by just keeping it clean. Although last week actually was the first week I've seen him get a penalty. It is a tough track, to be honest, to avoid getting one. But yeah, a bit of weakness there. We'll see when he does eventually return, whatever track that may be. Maybe Monza next week, potentially, if he can get a seat organised and sorted in time. He might be able to secure himself another podium. Maybe even get himself a win, especially in that feature race. 25 points in your pocket would be awesome if he could achieve that. But it is very difficult, especially when it comes down to, you know, there's less of a traffic situation in the feature race, because if you do well in the qualifying, you're fine. You can actually just get straight out there and actually take it into that race quite nicely. But then when it comes to the second race, the sprint race, you've actually got to work through a lot of traffic, which is actually something, you know, that is actually quite a bit of a talent. You have to be really good at that. Some people can do that quite nicely. I do tend to roast Beaker, I guess, a fair bit for how much he gets caught up in these incidents, but you know what? He does his best, and we've already had 2 people being taken out of the formation lap. That is Amkasa and Jeb. So their tyres will be pretty damn cold when it comes to the start of this GP. So expect some spins maybe. Depends if they're running assists. Assists are allowed here in the F2 races. This is a for fun aspect of the weekend. So we do allow them to run pretty much whatever they want in terms of assists. We just, as long as they have fun and keep it clean, that's the bit that matters to us. However, I do know that there are a fair few people in here that don't run assists. I'm looking at Beaker, although he is, I'm told, using Racing Line today. And I think he's also using ABS as we lose some more people from the formation lap. That was Marquez and Burrito Bandito. They may have had contact. But I need to hear your 1, 2, 3 prediction for the end of the feature race. Twitch chat, let me know what your 1, 2, 3 is for this. I mean, we saw Hayden say Aeterno in the podium. I think down in P12, he's going to need a lot of carnage to happen on the opening couple of laps in order for him to get it. I mean, they're at 6 laps, so he's going to need to pass a lot of people very quickly. But again, if they have mistakes off the line, if they have mistakes going into turn 1, if they have mistakes coming up the hill, even if they come into Osley-Coombe, it is still doable. Just not 100% certain who's going to finish where. If I was to give you my top 3 though, Bottas Gang, when he starts in pole, tends to run away with it. And he actually tends to build a gap quite nicely off the start. So I think he's probably going to be my race winner today. P2, I'm looking at Beaker for this. I think he's very good, especially when he starts at the front of the grid. He's very much like a Sebastian Vettel kind of guy. Well, when you're at the front of the grid, it's quite easy for him to maintain it, but he struggles when he's got to overtake people and keep himself out of trouble. Piloto Payet, his consistency has been a bit of a problem over the last few races. He's had a lot of penalties due to off-tracks and such things like that, so we'll see whether or not Piloto has been working on that to keep himself more consistent and avoid those unnecessary penalties. If he can, brilliant. I think he's P3. I think he's very much somebody who can, but Jack is also somebody else who can do that too. Like, Jack is a very good driver. He's very fast, but he is too prone to getting these penalties, and that is going to be a better problem for him, as you need every single second in these shorter races. 25% race for the feature race, 25% race for the sprint race, which I believe will put us on a 5-lap sprint race, as the drivers now are coming back onto their grid boxes, getting themselves ready for the Belgium GP. And Bottas Gang will be leading us away on pole position. Here we go then. The lights are on here at Spa-Francorchamps. And let's get it on. Is Bottas Gang getting very nice? Oh, that was a fair bit of wheel spin there from Piloto Payet. Didn't quite get the start he needed coming into this corner. There's going to be a lot of side action here. We've got 2x2 coming into it. Beaker and Rexon, it looks like, having a bit of a scrap there, but I think Beaker has come out on top. Bit of spin near the back. That was Marquez and Burrito. There are lots of contact further down. That is Burrito Bandito and Matt, and I believe Marquez is getting involved in that as well. That's not gone quite well for them. Piloto Payet is trying to get onto the back of Bottas Gang. He's going to have a huge tow as they come all the way down the Kemmel Straight. A bit of mistakes happening as well. Coming up, Eau Rouge Radio. That's Tiger Jr. Is that an issue? And look at this. Beaker's very much trying to get past his teammate. Oh, he's going to get boxed in. He can't quite get past him. He's going to have to try and tuck it in a little bit and get an exit of Dreams, but no. There's nowhere to go. Bottas Gang does maintain race lead. Piloto Payet will take P2, and Beaker will stay P3. More people. Oh, a bit of a send there. That was Jack going into Rexon, sorry, and then Tortor gets claimed by it, and more contact happening left, right, and center. Ayrton, I think, has also been caught up in that. He has got a left end plate missing. More drivers up and out of the way there. That was Tortor, and Just Chillin', I think. Just Chillin's up there now in P8, considering where he was earlier. Here comes Jack. Toto's lagging like crazy. He's just teleporting backwards quite a fair bit. And these guys seemingly have either very bad wings, or there is a missing end plate on the left-hand side there for Jack. Just Chilling. Actually has got his wing fully intact. So really good start from him then to achieve that. But look at the gap to the leaders. 1, 2, and 3, and 4 actually, are miles up the road. It's Ayrton who's currently leading this massive train that goes all the way back to, I think, right the way to Amkasa in P13. So we'll monitor that. Oh, bit of a back-end kick out there. I think that was Kulmanik. Yes, it was. Oh, there's more contact. Big contact there. That was Jack making a mistake, and he's rotated. He's got big wing damage, and he's off onto the grass there and retires from the session. Not a surprise, as the AI will take control of his car, and he is done and dusted. We come towards the end of the first lap. Landos Milton's getting a fair bit of a punt there. Who was that? I think that was Just Chilling. It actually gave him a bit of a shunt there and sent him off to the outline. There's more contact going on. There's plenty of people trying to get themselves into the pits. That is Marquez, Kolmanik, and Tortor all diving in to get a fresh wing added to their car. We come back up to the front of the grid. You can see Bottas Gang's actually started to build quite a nice gap here. You got Piloto Paya, who is actually P2, despite what it says on the left-hand side. I'll show you, he is in fact P2. We've got Beaker, who's in his toe. He hasn't got DRS because we're not yet on lap 3. He's got a break at the P0 market. He's got to get himself right down the gears and onto that curb, and beautifully timed there from Beaker to secure physical P2 for now, but it's not over yet. You've got to bear that in mind. It is far from over. I think Jeb is actually going for a move here on Lando's Milkman, or at least he's trying to. Couldn't quite get that one locked in. Lando's Milkman has brought it back in again. I'm not entirely sure what position this is for, purely because the telemetry on left is broken. It will fix itself when we start lap 3, so bear that in mind. It's not for the remainder of the GP, but it is going to be a bit of a problem for you still. Ayotono is still leading this train. That I can confirm for you, and I believe this is for P5 onwards. So big points still to score here. Just chilling in P6. That means Lando's Milton P7, Jeb P8 with Mamkasa there in a point scoring position. At least until penalties are taken into account. WG Players is not race leader, I can assure you. He is in fact down at the back of the grid. It is Bottas Gang who is leading this GP. It is still Beaker in with a chance of closing in on him. The gap is over a second. There's not going to be any DRS available to him, but him and his teammate Piloto could actually work together to try and tow each other right the way to the front, as it looks like Just Chillin is going to get a move here on Ayoterno, or at least be in a position to go for it into the braking zone. Coming in towards Blanchimont now, then he has to get the run through. He has to lift there. There's almost contact between the two of them. They are going to go side by side as they're coming towards the bus stop chicane. Just Chillin gets very late on the brakes, and he's made a fantastic move, but he's gone a bit too deep. Back end steps out, but he should still secure that position unless Ayoterno can return the favour and get a good exit. He hasn't quite got a best one, but he is going to have a good one. Might go for a send around the outside. You don't really want to go for a move here, especially now we've started lap 3. The telemetry on left has corrected itself. DRS has now been enabled, and he needs to sit tight until he gets to the Kemmel Straight. But he can't sit too tight because Lando's Milkman right on the back of both of these here, in with a shot of taking both positions away as it's a double tow all the way down that Kemmel Straight leading towards Lake Coombe. A bit of a mistake there from Joe Turner, but he is trying to manage it with that wing issues he has. Lando's Milkman is going to go around the outside of him quite nicely here, but he's not going to get the tow. This is where Turner can get the tow. Just Chilling is a bit of a sitting duck here. We might see a bit of an outside send here. Joe Turner has to back out. Lando's Milkman's going round the outside, and Turner's going to have a chance to come right back on the outside of him. Coming straight back at it. They are going to be wheel to wheel coming into the right-hander. They have to keep it clean. Oh, they have. Lando's Milkman will get that position, but he has to watch out for Just Chilling. The gap is extending. A big mistake there from Lando's Milkman will allow Joe Turno to get right back into P6, and this fight is just going to continue until the end. Piloto Paya is still within DRS range of his teammate, though. That is definitely a fight that will continue until the very end of the GP, I reckon. 8/10 is the gap right now as Jeb is using the DRS to close in on Marquez. He might go for a late send here. This is going to be a bit of a lunge. He's backed out of it. I think that's quite smart. Could have potentially got it locked in if he had just committed, but, you know, if you're not confident, don't do it, is what I always say. Ayoterno. Oh, Lando's Milkman is really struggling with the rear of that car. He's actually lost out on the DRS of Just Chilling now. JC, as I like to refer to him, is getting a penalty, actually. That's one big problem. I was about to say, he's got some clear air. The pressure has been eased off him. And it looked like he took the foot off the gas metaphorically, because he's still, flying away. He's still got a 2-second gap to Lando's Milkman, as Bottas Gang sets the new fastest lap, a 156.537. So fantastic stuff from him. Flipping through then into the bus stop chicane. We do have the rev limiter bug on him. And the penalties are alive here. Press the wrong button there. I was meant to press that button. 2 seconds for everybody except for WG Players, who got that for speeding in the pit lane. So bear that in mind. So Just Chilling, Jeb, Kolmanik, and Kasa, they all have 2 seconds. WG Players has 3. And Piloto Paya closing back in again on Beaker. The gap to Beaker and race leader Bottas Gang is 3.1 seconds. So this is again where Bottas Gang is proving he has so much skill in these F2 cars. Some people speculate and say that it is the ABS, but surely there's more to it than just that. Alright, Piloto then has to close in pretty soon. We are on lap 4 of 6, although that penalty should help him. It means he doesn't actually have to pass him. He just needs to stay within the 2-second margin, and then keep it as clean and consistent for the remainder of the race. And I did actually criticize Piloto earlier, saying he has had issues with his consistency over the last few races, few weekends. But today, it seems to be a very different driver. He seems to be very much the consistent driver, keeping himself nice and quick as well, staying on the back of Beaker to an extent. But the gap is sort of nearing that 9/10 margin, which is getting into the danger zone. Oh, Beaker's made a mistake! That is a huge mistake from Beaker. That is very uncharacteristic. It looked like he just stepped on the throttle a bit too hard and hit the wall, and Rexon, he's now up to P3, in with a chance of securing a podium for himself. Fantastic stuff from Rexon. Bit of a scrap going on down at the back of the field. Amkasa and WG players. WG players made a move on Amkasa, and that has been locked in. I don't think there's any wing damage for Amkasa. No, he's all good. He's just taking it a bit too deep due to not being in the game for quite some time. Now, Beaker, obviously, he's going to lose a lot here having to pit. I think he should still come out around about P7, dependent on how quickly he can get in the pits, change his wing, and get right back on out again. Here we go then. Oh, in fact, never mind. Scratch that, because the pit stops are really slow in the F2 cars. He's going to be right down at the back now. I reckon P9 at best is kind of where he's going to be sat. They're only just now changing his front tyres. He should be able to get away. There he is. He's off and away. So, Beaker down in P9. Still a point scoring position, but not quite in a position where he can then get that part of the swapperoo, the reverse grid. Remember, the top 8 get flipped and reversed. So Matt currently, who is P8, will be P1 at the start of the sprint race, which is coming up straight after this. Bottas gang, though, he has done such a fantastic job in this race. I think he has got the fastest lap as well. Yes, he does, a 56.493. So again, on target to get another perfect weekend, if he can lock this in. It's a lot to ask to achieve a perfect weekend. It's a very, very difficult task, but he's making it look really simple. The only guy to do it, and he's done it twice. Can he get the trifecta? Can he get the hat trick? We'll see. Tapia, 5.5 seconds back. He's not giving him with a chance of getting it. A new fastest sector 2 there for Bottas gang. He is really lighting up these timing boards. Fantastic stuff from him to achieve what he's doing. But I thought for a second Beaker might have a chance of actually getting, not necessarily getting a P1, but at least being able to take a fastest lap or something away from Bottas gang to stop him from getting such a dominant weekend. But it looks like no one can stop him. Maybe if there's an issue in the sprint race that causes Bottas gang to lose that. But he's just set a new fastest lap. A 56.288. Bottas gang is absolutely incredible. Where's the nerf for Bottas gang? Calusa pointing out there, he definitely needs to be nerfed 100%. OP, to say the least. He's away though, and he's still going through. If there was an F2 Pro Esports, Bottas gang would definitely be in it, that's for sure. Below Tapia though is there in P2. He's still 6 seconds away, but he also has 6.5 second gap to Rexon. So realistically, there is no worries for him. There is a bit of a spin there. That was Amkasa coming out of P1. Not the ideal run that he wanted. Joey Eterno is P6. He still has that wing damage. I think overall he's still done a very good job. In fact, let's actually have a look at the position changes. He has gained 6 places. He's not the biggest winner though, because the biggest winner is in fact Lando's Milkman. 8 places gained in this race. He's climbed all the way up to P5 and he's going to get himself some big points. He will start himself off in P4, of course, when it comes to the sprint race, and Joey Eterno will start in P3. But this is a really good sort of demonstration as to how much keeping your wing is required here. You can't afford to lose anything. If you do, you're just going to find yourself in a bit of trouble. I mean, the first lap was pretty carnage, to be honest. There was a lot of mistakes being made and a lot of people having wing damage. We lost one driver straight off the bat. That was Jack. And then shortly after that, we did lose Burrito Bandito, I believe, in the pits. But Bottas gang, who has done such a fantastic job in this Grand Prix to keep it clean, but more importantly, keep it quick. Having that fastest lap, and now coming up to the final few corners on lap 6 here of this Grand Prix. Vicky getting another penalty. Bottas gang there in the exit, nice and smooth. A very gentle cruise up to the line to secure the race win here. 27 points to his name. Very good job from him. Tapia will cross in P2. Rexon, who in the first time in a long time seen him in these F2 cars, has shown he still has. I was about to bin him then by accident with my commentator's curse. He has secured the podium. Just chilling, who I haven't seen racing these for a very long time. He's going to finish in P4. Lando's Milton's a bit too far back to capitalize on the penalty, so he will finish in P5. And Joey Eterno who, again, did have wind damage pretty early on. He got caught up in all that kerfuffle that started on lap 1. Will cross the line and take P6 as we now wait for the remainder of the grid. And where the majority of the penalties are, to be honest, coming through the final few corners to finish this Grand Prix. There's Tiger Jr. Next up is Matt and Beaker. Beaker obviously having a lot more penalties than Matt. He will fall to P9. But that's the problem now. He won't actually gain on Matt. He will have to start in P9 in the sprint race, which is going to be a really hard task for him to get any points and recover any sort of overall weekend position here. Lots of work to do. Very, very difficult to achieve. Marquez will get the best of the rest position. No points for these guys now as Jeb gone P12. WG Players, who did have to go to the pits, along with many of the others around this area too, will cross line in P13. Kulmanik, just a couple of corners for him to go. He's going to finish in P14. And then, fair play to him, he stuck it out to the... Oh, we're going off track here. This is apparently IndyCar lines. We are going to be seeing Amkasa mount that final curb there. And then cruise almost. He is weaving on purpose as he comes across the line to finish in P15. Well, that's the feature race done, but don't go anywhere because we do have the sprint race in just a moment. We're going to find out how everyone fares off in the grid. Lando's Mum getting driver of the day. Unfortunately, no points awarded for driver of the day. It's just purely the title that matters for them. And there is the race winner, the fantastic champion that is Bottas gang. Let's go and have a look at who finished where and the overall positions at the end of that. So Bottas can get the 27 points to add to his already existing 4 points that he got from the qualifying. Now, again, he is in with a chance now of getting a perfect weekend for the 3rd time ever. And it will be looking so good if he can do it, because he's the only person to have ever achieved it ever. Piloto Paya in P2, Rex in P3, Just Chill in P4, Lando's Mum in P5, Aoturno P6, Tiger Jr. P7, Matt in 8th place. Remember, the top 8 get flipped and reversed, so Matt will be starting in pole position at the start of the sprint race coming up in just a minute, with Beaker there resuming in P9, Toto P10 at the final of the point spot scoring positions, with Marquez in best of the rest land P11, Jeb P12, WG Players P13, Kulmanik P14, Amkasa P15 was the last of the finishers because Burrito Bandito and Jack both retired partway through that GP. And it was Jack we lost on the first lap due to contact, it looked like, coming out of the Stavler 2. And then we did lose Burrito Bandito, I think, in the pits. Now, we are in the sprint race here. The sky is very clear, very blue, which does mean we're going to be seeing dry tyres being utilised. Now, in the sprint race, we tend to see a mixed match of tyre compounds. It's not something the drivers have control of, but it does affect the way that the race goes down. So there's some people that might lose out here just by having the wrong tyre compound on, but there may be some people that will benefit more than others. This is, I believe, a 5-lap GP around this circuit, so we'll see now in just a second how that fares off. But the drivers are getting themselves strapped in and ready to go here for the second time at Spa-Francorchamps. There we go then. The formation lap is underway. Let's have a look at the tyres. Everybody's on the same tyre compound except Tortor, who is on the medium compound. So he's going to be struggling for initial grip. But then as it comes to the later stages of this race, there should be more than enough grip for him. And he might be able to actually attempt something as 4 people all just got DQ'd at the exact same time. Burrito Bandito, Kulmanik, Marquez, and Beaker all getting reset out of the formation lap. But it is Matt leading us away for the formation lap. Tiger Jr. P2, Aoturno P3. So now I want to hear from you. What is going to be your top 3 prediction at the end of the sprint race? What we got? Do we think Bottas Gang can bring himself back to take the race win? Do we think he can get the perfect weekend for the 3rd time ever? Answers on a postcard, please. I'd love to hear from you guys in the Twitch chat what your thoughts and opinions are. Bottas Gang is going to get the perfect weekend. I mean, it looks pretty clear. It looks like he's got this. I mean, the hard part now is obviously finishing the last race in P1 means he starts this race in P8. Which, if he starts this race in P8, means he's going to have to avoid the carnage that we saw at the start and the first lap of the last race. So it's really difficult now for these guys to well, for Bottas Gang to still secure that perfect weekend, despite this being a track where overtaking is actually not that difficult. Obviously, they don't have the same ERS usage that they can use like in the F1 cars. They don't have the same fuel usage like they do in the F1 cars, but they do still have the DRS, and obviously the tow still exists, so lots of opportunities there. There is a suggestion here that JC, or Just Chillin', might be getting the race win with Bottas Gang P2, Piloto Payet P3. Now, Just Chillin's in a great start. Look, P5 right now on the back of Lando's Miltman. But this is where it comes down to the same situation as last race. Avoiding lap 1 carnage. It has to be absolutely clear and consistent in order for him to achieve that. As Matt decided on his formation lap he wanted to hurry up and get underway with this Grand Prix, but now he's realised maybe I'm a bit too far ahead and I don't particularly want to be sat waiting on the grid for everybody to catch up. Tiger Jr. has backed right off, and rightly so. Joe Aeterno, Hayden Gullis is saying that Joe's going to take the win today. Possibly. I mean, he's in a great place for it, P3. He did get wing damage in the last race, but he did do a fantastic job of managing that quite well and still holding a fair bit of pace to not be that far away from the guys ahead of him, but also still securing a nice healthy gap to the drivers behind. So we'll see whether or not he can take that knowledge with him into this race, and whether or not he can use that to bring himself into a race win position. But I can tell you now, Bottas Gang is definitely not going to go down without a fight. He's going to give it everything. He's going to put all of it on the line because he wants that third, the third time perfect weekend. As the lights are on here, then in Spa for the second time and final time in the F2 cars. And away we go then. Matt has got a pretty good start. The back end stepped a little bit, but not too much of a problem. Lots of back end stepping out further down the back. I want to actually quickly look as we're coming towards turn 1. How this is going to fare off as Amkasa's got deep. That's a big lunge there from Amkasa. That is definitely not the way you want to be diving in towards turn 1. Mistakes made as well. I believe that's Jack who's just been caught up in it. And it looks to me like Amkasa caused a huge pile up there. Jeb, WG players all caught up in it too. Jack, Piloto Payet, Amkasa has been disqualified from the session. Just Chilling has been retired. There's more contact, more people dead. 4 people just dropped out all of a sudden. People who you thought could be scoring massive points. We've lost, how many people is that? 7 people already? Yellow flag sector 1. Absolute carnage coming into this Grand Prix. Matt is P1. Tiger Jr. P2. Lando's Millen P3. And Joey Eterno's lost out. He's down to P5. I have no words to describe that first sector. That was a very messy, very... big. Messy is definitely the word. Lando's Milman. Oh, I don't know what he's trying to do. He's making a lot of mistakes here. This is his back end again, a bit lively, and he just tried to keep it under control. But look at Kolmanik. He's all over the back of them now. Joey Eterno's under fire from Toto. Toto's going to be a little bit deep now, and Kolmanik's going to try and fire it down the inside, but there's no way through, so he's going to have to sit tight there in P7. Bottas Gang up to P4. I don't even know where he gained the places from, but he's on the back of Rexon. There's P2 and P1 just ahead of him. It looks like Bottas Gang might be the person to get the third perfect weekend ever. Alright, Bottas Gang is actually a little bit too far back to gain on any tow, but he has got himself up to P3. Rexon is going to fall to P4, and now we're going to see Tiger Jr. with a big send down the inside on Matt. What a fantastic move, but he locked up too deep, and that's allowed Matt to come right back on through. It's also allowed Bottas Gang to get right back into the tow here. Tiger Jr., it was a great idea. The execution just wasn't quite there to secure him that race lead, and now it's put him under serious risk of losing a lot of places because Bottas Gang already in his gearbox. A bit of a mistake there from Tiger Jr. on the exit has caused him to fall down the order. Lando's Milman's in a similar sort of position. He's also had a big off coming through turn 1, but we need to go back to Bottas Gang, who's going to go for a move here on Tiger Jr. almost certainly as they come onto the straight. The tow is going to be massive. DRS is not yet available. Remember, we are still only on lap 2, despite what the telemetry says on the left-hand side. We are going to now come very quickly up towards Lake Oom. Bit of a late break there from Bottas Gang. He did kind of panic a little bit. There's also a mistake there. I believe it was Kolmanik who's having a bit of a fight. Yeah, here he is. That is Joey Eterno. It's just on his inside. Very much giving him the squeeze, but very fair indeed there. Joe should have the inside for this corner. Somehow Kolmanik's going to have to stick it all the way around the outside. There's no way. There's no way he's going to hold it on, but he's trying his best. He might have actually just done it. If he can hold this, he's going to have P5. And Eterno's going to... Oh, bit of a mistake there from Toto as well. Joey Eterno's going to have to sit back behind him, but he is alongside of him still. There's no way you're going side by side coming through Poo on. That's definitely not going to happen as we're coming round it now. Joey Eterno will stay P7. Colmanic looking for Tiger Jr. here, who was P2 at the start of this lap. That's just how crazy this has unfolded. Bottascan going around the outside of Matt now. Coming in towards Stavler. He's going to have to keep this clean on the inside. Don't send him out wide, otherwise you will find yourself in a bit of trouble. But Bottascan with a clean overtake has now brought himself into race lead when the telemetry fixes itself. Joey Eterno going around the outside there of Tiger Jr. And that's also... Who is that behind him? Is that Tortor? Yeah, it is. Tortor going down the inside. Oh, there was very nearly a bit of a death there. I wouldn't say murder attempt. Joey Eterno's going for a send here. Coming in towards the bus stop chicane. He's going down the inside. He's going to take it really tight. This is also allowing... Is that Tiger Jr.? Oh, no. Tortor went for a move and he just didn't work out. He does fall back a bit, but he's still in with a shot of getting some big points here. Remember, the top 8 are the only ones who can score in this sprint race. It is going to be very important that they get this right, as there goes Tiger Jr. down the inside on Joey Eterno. Didn't quite get the exit he needed either, so he's going to have to stay P6. But we're going to have a look back up at Wrexham. I thought he might have been a little bit closer than he is, actually. He is only half a second. It could still change at the drop of a hat. Lap map does appear to be having some network issues. Tiger Jr. getting a 2-second penalty. Will be having more problems as we go on. So he's going to fall down. Who is that? Is that Joey Eterno? Yes, it is. Nice move to get up to P4 then. The DRS being available to him did help him secure that, but a bit of a lock-up there might also cause him to lose it, as Colmanic, somebody who has scrapped with him over the last couple of laps to through this entire... Oh, Joe, very good handling there of his back end. Colmanic going for a bit of a send there into Ravage. That's not the ideal location to try it, and I think Tiger Jr., yep, he tried it on the inside. When you stick your nose in, you've got to prepare for the fact that he could get ripped off, and it did. He hasn't got damage, I don't believe, but that has caused him a fair bit of problems coming into this. Colmanic in P4, Matt and Wrexham, they're having a little bit of a scrap. This is for P2, remember. This is fantastic stuff to see them going all the way toe-to-toe to the end of this GP, at least we hope. Do only have a few more laps to go. Bit of a mistake there from Wrexham getting too much on the curb. We do also have Tortor still with this little 3-car battle for P4. Yellow flag sector 2. That is Lando's Milkman, who's had a bit of a spinal there. No wing damage for him though, so he could still resume the battling once more. And so is Wrexham and Matt now, as they're going to tow each other all the way up towards the bus stop chicane. There is a chance here that Tortor goes for a move on Eterno. The gap is decreasing quite nicely. It is all very much dependent on how well he can maintain it together. Coming through into the bus stop now, Matt and Wrexham will stay as they are. I think the same is going to be said about Colmanic, Joe and Tortor down in 4th, 5th and 6th. Wrexham's actually going to go for a move here. This is not the advised situation. You do not really want to do that, although it did cause Matt to go deep. This is actually quite smart from Matt if he did that intentionally, because if Matt was to fall back to P3, he will have DRS on the long Kemmel straight, which is very important. But now we're going to be seeing Wrexham staying as he was, looking to try and get as much momentum up this hill as he possibly can, get the DRS wing wide open, get into the toe. He might be able to go for a move, but we're going to have to look back at Joey Eterno because he's going to get the move done on Colmanic, this time in the exact same way he did it last time, but he's much further ahead much sooner, and he should be able to keep it together as Matt and Wrexham, they're going toe-to-toe. It is going to be Wrexham getting P2 locked in there. And Matt will have the chance on the final lap to give him the return fire and see whether or not this happens. Colmanic went a little bit long way around. Maybe he's trying to get the cut back, but oh, bit of a send down the inside there, Tortor. Causing a little bit of contact between them. There's more contact happening. Tortor's been sent to the wall. And I think Colmanic maybe got his elbows out a little bit too hard there. That is Tortor losing the right end plate, maybe even a bit more than that. It was a pretty hard shunt into the wall. So it wouldn't surprise me if he does have a fair few elements missing as well. Colmanic P5, Joe Eterno P4. And Joe actually suddenly looks like he might actually get himself on a podium. Matt seems to have lost a lot of momentum, a lot of speed here. And now the two teammates are going to have to battle all the way to the end. Yellow flag. That is Tortor, who's out of this GP. I think he has actually crashed out. I don't think that's just a retirement. No safety cars, of course, because we don't have any here. But Colmanic is alongside Joey Eterno. This is tight. Oh, he almost got a bit of penalty for Joey Eterno. Means now he's not really in with a chance. But Colmanic's going for a send into the bus stop chicane. That is going to force Joe out wide and take a really awkward run through the left-hander. Now we are on the final lap. Bottascan has got the fastest lap, and he's looking dead set on taking the overall perfect weekend once more. But Colmanic is ready to take P4. He has to take P4. I think the penalty situation is identical. Yes, it is. So it's a 2-second penalty all round, except if your name is Piloto Paya, who has 3 seconds, but it's quite the way back. Landos Millman has retired in the same place we saw Mr. Tortor do the same thing. Kulmanik a bit too far back, going very much off track there. Now Joey Eterno is going to need to try and find a way to get past Matt and cause him to get a 2-second penalty, because if he can pass him and keep him there and get Matt to get a penalty, then Joe can actually take a P3, but that's the only way he's going to do that. Matt is very much all out of shape a little bit, though. He's not quite got the pace he needed through there in order to keep himself comfortable without feeling that pressure. Joe is ready to apply as much pressure as possible to try and snatch this P2 away. That is a very slow right-hander there throughout. I have heard from Landos Millman that his wheel broke, which is really bad news for him. Hopefully it's an easy fix, or hopefully it's easy to be replaced. But that is a big shame there. Eterno looking for Matt now. We are coming to the closing stages of the final laps. He's going to have to hurry up and get a move on and then try and battle him through the corners to make Matt get a penalty. Matt's gone deep. This is going to allow Joe to get on the inside. Oh, there were very much contact, but Ruben is racing, I've been told. And now he's looking to get down the inside again. Matt covers it. This time it's going to have to be all about the exit. Here comes Kulmanik down the inside. That's a bit of a send. Contact between the two of them. No damage on either car, but now Joey Eterno, who was looking for a P3, and maybe if he could have got Matt to get a penalty, but suddenly he's looking at a P5. Because Kulmanik has just gone on by to get him through there. Kulmanik has had his elbows out in the past. He's going to look for do the same thing through Paul and Shimon. There's Matt getting a little bit of a kiss on the back end as Kulmanik runs wide. Here we go. Bottas Gang is going to take the win here and the perfect weekend, but Kulmanik goes deep. Joey Eterno is trying to follow him through as well, but Matt has gone all the way around the outside and onto the inside of the final corner. Matt, oh no! Joey Eterno, he might get P3 locked in. He will not, but Matt has been robbed. He gets his back end tail tickled by Kulmanik, and he is struggling to cross the line. Tiger Jr. will take P5. Matt just can't. There he is. He's got it back due to penalties. And you've got to feel sorry for Matt there. That could have been and should have been a P3, but Kulmanik just getting a little bit too aggressive for himself there and for the others caused Matt to get a rotation, and that did put Matt off into the wall. Oh, through the final corner on the home straight. Bottas Gang, I cannot believe how crazy this guy actually is. He's done it again. The third time he has secured a perfect weekend. And what makes it even more insane, he's the only person to do it. It's so difficult to get a perfect weekend, and he has done it 3 times. We are looking at the Lewis Hamilton of F2s here. This guy is fantastic. Kulmanik gets the driver of the day, although maybe not the fun time. Sorry, the respect that he necessarily deserves or wants. It was a little bit too aggressive in my opinion, but it is what it is, and he finishes P3. Bottas Gang, not only does he secure the win, but he also gets himself the extra 2 points for the fastest lap, and Rexon will finish in P2. Kulmanik, controversially, will finish in P3. Joey Eterno locks in a P4. Matt P5. Tiger Jr. P6. And WG Players P7. Piloto Paya getting the final of the point scoring positions in this sprint race, with Jeb getting P9. Landos Millman there in P10. Toto P11. Jack P12. Marquez P13. Beaker 14th. Brito Bandito 15th. Just Chilling 16th. And Amkasa getting the DQ for being a little bit too aggressive there, to say the least, in towards turn 1. We do need to have a quick look at the overall weekend. Of course, it's Bottas Gang securing that overall win with Rexon P2, Piloto Paya P3, Eterno P4, JC P5, Landsman P6, Tiger Jr. P7, Matt P8, tied with Kulmanik. Oh, it's a 4-way tie for P6 there. With Beaker then getting P10, the 2 points, tied with WG Players, Toto P12, Jeb P13, Jack 14th, Marquez 15th, Burrito Bandito in 16th, and Amkasa in 17th place. Now, guys, don't go anywhere. We'll be back very soon with the previous highlights from last week's GP, and also getting underway with the F1 race in just a few moments. Stay tuned.